Welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. We hope you enjoy this story for intermediate English learners. English Story B1, B2, A Weekend in London. Ben had been saving up for a special trip for the last few months. He had to keep it secret from his girlfriend, Carla. He was going to propose to her. They had only been together for 18 months, but he knew she was the one for him. They had known each other for a lot longer than 18 months. They went to school together and then bumped into each other one night years later at their local pub. Since their school days, Carla had lived in Australia and Dubai, and Ben had lived in Scotland and London. Now they were both settled in Manchester, where they grew up. Carla had always loved London, and Ben had taken her many times to meet his friends in the city and show her the sights. Her dream had always been to stay at the famous Ritz Hotel. It opened in 1906 and is one of the most luxurious five-star hotels in London. It's a Grade 2 listed building and has a Michelin star restaurant. Carla's mouth watered at the thought of eating the delicious food. Carla had suggested that she wanted to visit London for a long weekend in the autumn. She wanted to stay at the Ritz, go to the theatre, and explore the local area. It had been on her wish list for years. She thought that by the time she reached 50, she might just about have enough money to stay there. What she didn't know was that Ben had made some money on the stock market and was pooling it all together to get her an engagement ring and a weekend to remember in London. Carla thought Ben was acting strange recently. He didn't seem to want to spend any money. He just kept saying he wanted to put it away for a rainy day, rather than buying a new shed or going away for a weekend to the seaside. Carla and Ben both had good jobs and had recently bought their first house together. It was a 3-bedroom, semi-detached. It was perfect and very low maintenance. They liked to go on holiday a lot, so they didn't want to have to spend a lot of money on doing up a house. They also loved to learn languages. Carla was learning Spanish, and Ben was trying to learn Japanese, but he thought it was incredibly difficult. Whenever Carla took her online language lesson in the office, Ben would get out his budget spreadsheets and work out how much money he had and how much more he needed to surprise Carla with a weekend trip to the Ritz. He had recently made £10,000 on the stock market, and he wanted to have another £1,000 just in case. He knew it was a lot of money, but he wanted to be with Carla forever, and for her to have a ring she would be proud of. If Carla knew how much money Ben was planning to spend, she would be furious. Of course, she had dreams of being waited on at the Ritz, but she would also love to spend that amount of money on a holiday or give some of it to charity. Ben knew this, and so he kept £2,000 to one side. That would leave him with £9,000. Surely that would be enough. He wanted to have enough money to pay for the hotel, the ring, a nice dinner, transport to and from London, a cruise down the River Thames, a trip to the theatre, and a visit to the top of the Shard. It was going to be Carla's birthday soon. Ben decided he would tell her that her present was a trip to London in a few weeks. During that time, he would be able to book and plan everything, and Carla would be able to book a few holiday days off work. Carla's birthday was a great success. They had friends over for a barbecue and partied into the night. Carla was ecstatic at the thought of going to London again and in her favourite season. Ben told her they would be travelling there by train. They would go first class. They'd never travelled first class before. As the next few weeks went by, they talked about their plans for their weekend in London. Ben assured Carla that everything was under control. All she had to do was pack her suitcase and he would take care of the rest. Carla didn't really like surprises. She was usually the one planning everything. The day of the London trip arrived, and Ben booked a taxi to the train station. Everything was running smoothly, and the train was on time for a change. The first class section was lovely. They had a full English breakfast and several cups of tea as they whooshed through the English countryside. When they arrived at London Euston Station, they got their bags, stepped off the train, and made their way to the tube. Carla loved the tube when it wasn't rush hour. It was so interesting seeing all the different people and wondering where they might be going. They took the Victoria line to Green Park and walked to the hotel. Even though it was now October, the sun was shining. It was a lovely, crisp day. People seemed to be happy that the weekend was almost upon them. "Well, here we are then, our home for the weekend," Ben said as they reached the Ritz. "Stop messing around, Ben." Carla didn't believe a word he was saying. "I'm not messing. Come on, I'll prove it." Ben led Carla into the hotel, and sure enough, he had booked them a 3-night stay at the hotel, complete with a visit to the Michelin star restaurant. Carla couldn't believe it. Her dreams were coming true. Once they got to their room and unpacked, Ben went through the plan for the weekend. For the rest of the day, they would go sightseeing and for a meal in the hotel restaurant. On Saturday, they will go for a river cruise and to the West End to see a show in the evening. Sunday, he planned for them to go to Greenwich Market and for a walk around the park. Greenwich Park has a lovely view over the city, and that's where he planned to propose. Ben didn't tell Carla that part of his plan. He had decided that, after the park, he will book a taxi to a top-rated cocktail bar to, hopefully, celebrate. Their first day of sightseeing included Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and the British Museum. In the evening, they went to the Ritz restaurant. Carla was glad she had packed her favourite dress. The dinner was delicious. It was more beautiful than Carla had ever imagined. They ate and laughed and looked out onto beautiful views of Green Park. The next day, they woke up early. There was a lot to see and do. Ben arranged for them to have brunch with 2 of his friends. After that, they went on a 2-hour river cruise down the Thames before popping back to the hotel to get ready for the theatre. They went to see a new show at the National Theatre, which is situated on London's South Bank. The show was fantastic, but Ben was nervous for the next day. So far, everything had gone to plan, but he was worried that something might go wrong. The next day, as planned, they travelled over to southeast London and went for a walk around Greenwich Market. They ate some delicious food before making their way to Greenwich Park. Ben was starting to feel nervous and couldn't stop checking his pocket to make sure the engagement ring was still in there. They started to walk up the steep hill to the top of Greenwich Park. They both had to force themselves to not look back at the view. Luckily, it wasn't too busy. They guessed that most people were probably having their lunch or a lazy Sunday. Once they got to the viewpoint, they turned around. They couldn't believe how beautiful the city looked. They could see all of Canary Wharf. It was a perfect autumn day. Carla turned around to Ben and was about to ask him to take her photo when she noticed he was down on one knee. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Carla, I wanted to bring you to your favourite city because you're my favourite person. I want to be with you forever. Will you do me the honour and be my wife?" Ben was almost shaking with nerves. What if she said no? Carla was in shock. She really wasn't expecting this, but she knew that she couldn't imagine Ben not being in her life anymore. They got on so well and complimented each other. "Ben, I wasn't expecting this. Oh my goodness. Of course I will. Yes." A few people gathered around and they all cheered and clapped. What a morning! Ben put the ring on Carla's finger and it fit perfectly. She loved it. It was exactly the sort of ring she liked. They kept hugging and someone offered to take their photo for them. What a beautiful backdrop for their engagement photos. Ben and Carla couldn't stop laughing. They were both overjoyed as they got a taxi to the rooftop cocktail bar. It might have been a little cold, but sitting outside and drinking a cocktail in the autumn sunshine was the perfect way to celebrate their new life together. Have you ever visited London? Did you like it? Tell us in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.